Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Through the Fire and the SBN Small Business Network podcast. I am your host, Ryan Wickline. Today, for the first time on our show, we have a guest who's been on here before. This will be her second time on here, so she is the first guest to come on here twice. So, ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to licensed therapist, coach, author, and podcast host Debbie Caudle. How you doing
Hi,
today,
Ryan.
Debbie?
I'm great. It's been a long week, but this is the highlight of my week for sure being here.
Awesome. Yeah, so everybody, the reason why she's been invited back, because the first time she came on, she prepared so much to talk about mindset stuff, limiting beliefs, confidence, things like that. But I steered the conversation on a relationship, so I felt bad that she prepared for something, didn't get to talk about it to you guys. So that is why I definitely had to invite her back to get her take on all this stuff for you. So, Debbie, thank you very much again for coming on here.
Thanks for having me again, Ryan. And it's all good. I like talking about all that stuff, relationships, mindset. It's all good.
So, for anybody who has not seen the show that you were on before, tell them, who is Debbie Coddle?
Well, so I'm in my 32nd year now of doing this. I, I feel old just saying that, but yeah, I'm a licensed therapist, but I call myself a coach because I approach so much of the work that I do with people from a coaching mentality. I work with Christian couples and to help them transform and repair their marriage, whether I'm working with just one of them or both of them. And I have a 6 month intensive marriage recovery program called Marriage in Bloom that is something pretty new that I'm doing that I already have people in, and I'm just super excited about that.
That's cool. And pretty awesome that you get to work with couples and kind of coach them back and bring them back together and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
So, thinking about that and going off that topic, what is probably the biggest limiting belief that couples have about themselves, like as you go try to repair their relationships?
Well, as you well know, there's different sort of, I'm going to call them mindsets. There's different types of mindsets. So, the two that I see showing up a lot in marriage are a fixed mindset, which is like, this is just the way it is. It can't change. Or this is the way I am. And it's not, or this is the way my marriage is, or this is the way my husband is. That fixed mindset of like, it's been this way for so long, I'm stuck, or the marriage is stuck and it's never going to get better. And then the other one that I see showing up a lot, in and outside of marriage, is that victim mindset, right? Of like, you know, eh, I'm unhappy. My life isn't where I want it to be right now. And it's everybody else's fault. It's my childhood and my spouse and my dog and the weather. It's everybody else's fault that I am miserable. Which, of course, as you well know, when you have that victim mindset, you can't do anything about you're stuck, right? You're waiting for a lot of times things externally around you to change in order for your thought process to shift and change.
Exactly. So, what's some advice you give to somebody with that victim mindset to start overcoming that belief about themselves?
I call myself the metaphor queen, and I have a metaphor for how I explain limiting beliefs and mindset. And it goes like this, just like there's an air filter in your home, right? That you have to change periodically, or you toss it out, or you reuse it, but you clean it out. Well, imagine that there's a filter in your brain. Imagine if you could screw off the top of your head, right there would be a filter. And everything that you go through in life passes through that filter. So, from your earliest childhood memories all the way up to present day, life's experiences are passing through that filter. Well, just like the air filter, there's going to be some junk in that filter, right? Because that's what a filter does. It traps particles, it traps things. So that junk is now what we're talking about. That junk, and I like to define beliefs into 3 categories. The overall term I use is what are your core beliefs? The beliefs within you that are driving your decision making. Okay. So your core beliefs can, some of them can be true. You've got some true beliefs going on. You've got some false beliefs, and then you've got the limiting beliefs. And the reason I separate those out is because sometimes limiting beliefs can have an element of truth to them. For example, you know, we can have beliefs about money, right? So if I use this example a lot. If I constantly went around in life going, I can't afford that. Like that is way out of my budget. There's no possible way I'm going to be able to do that. Then I've shut my brain down to the possibility of exploring anything else. So I have limited myself in thinking that way. Is there some truth to the fact that I don't have the money right now? Yes. But if I were to switch that around in my brain and go, I don't have the money right now, but how can I find the money? Then my brain goes into problem solving mode. It goes, oh, okay, well, you could get some more clients, maybe, or you could sell something, or you could get a loan, or you could borrow from family or friends. Not all those ideas are equal in value, but instead of limiting myself and walking away from something that could potentially be an important opportunity, maybe whatever that is that I'm saying no to is something that will improve my marriage or something that will enhance my business professionally, or something that will improve my life, personal development. But I've just put this mental wall up and limited my ability to explore other avenues. So that's my definition of limiting. Could have an element of truth. Again, if I went around and said, I'm just a therapist or I'm just a woman, right? Those are limiting things, even though that they are also there's also truth to those things. But there are also false beliefs that get stuck in that filter. And false beliefs are things that are not true at all. And these are the things that are often shaped by childhood, the messaging from our parents or our caregivers, messaging from media, messaging from society, from friends our age who don't know any better either. So many things that influence us in life. And so we will have false beliefs about ourselves. We'll have false beliefs about God, about family, about trust, about intimacy, about love, about money, about work, and on it goes, right? So, and I think that filter metaphor, it helps people to really sort of visualize like what they're actually letting into their brain.
I like how you touched on that too about how society, how people, those false beliefs are a lot of times just what society and people close to us like tell us about who we need to be. Like I talked about that with you earlier as we were talking before I hit record about how many times just society tries to tell you, put you in a box and tell you what you can or can't do. So like going a little bit deeper on that, how would you kind of tell your clients, hey, we don't want to be put in this box and get rid of these false beliefs about yourself?
Yeah. Well, they first have to, I think, really understand why core beliefs and mindset are so important. The thing is, mindset and core beliefs aren't just about how we think; it's about how we frame our reality. So everything we believe, everything that we expect or tolerate, put up with in people, all in our marriage, outside of our marriage, all of that flows from our mindset. So it's really, really critical. the way that I go about helping people identify that is I do a little exercise. I call it the 5 whys. And, as we're talking and getting to know each other and, we're identifying some of the problems that are going on with a client, my brain will go ding, ding, ding. There's something there, right? So then I have them do this little exercise. And we start off with the first why. Why, and maybe I'll use myself as an example. Why, why do you think, why do you think you can't afford that, Debbie? Okay. So then I answer my question. Well, because I don't have enough money. Okay. So then that leads me to the next why. So maybe the next why might be, well, why is not having enough money shutting you down from considering any other option? And so maybe the answer to that is, well, I want to, I'm a budget is important to me and I don't want to waste money. So then I form another why and I go 5 levels deep. Often what we see when we go 5 levels deep is there's a belief. There's something that's tucked away in that filter that we're not even aware of. And we've drilled down with the 5 whys to go, oh, and maybe the core belief that I identify through the 5 whys is I have a scarcity mindset when it comes to money. Like there's only so much money to go around, and so I need to be careful about how I spend it. I don't know what the 5 whys will lead me to, but it's always interesting to me when I have clients do this and they're kind of shocked, like, oh, I didn't even know that was rolling around in my brain.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize that that mindset will keep you stuck where you're at and will keep you from attracting and going for the things that you could actually have.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Most marriages don't break because of conflict. They break because of those rigid mindsets. He'll never change, or it's gotten too bad. It's gone too far, or we shouldn't have to try this hard in this relationship. That and people don't realize that that's stuck thinking. And see, this is what happens. So, what I do with clients is I show them the breakdown of you've got your present day thinking about a situation, and that present day thinking has been really distorted by a mindset, a false or limiting belief that's in that filter. And that has a point of origin that goes way back, right? I'll give you another example. Um, I use this example a lot. This is not something that actually happened to me, but it's, I think, a really easy sort of way to show people the connection. So let's say that when I was a teenager, I had a really bad experience with some cheerleaders. And because of that experience, I formed a belief that all cheerleaders are stuck-up snobs who think they're better than everybody else, right? And that's stuck in that filter. It's never gone away, but I'm no longer aware of that. I mean, it's been many, many, many years since that experience has happened. But now, in my present day, I just got a new client, a woman, and it turns out she's the head cheerleading coach down at the local college. And I don't like her. I don't know why I don't like her. There's just something about her that just rubs me the wrong way. Well, if I want to figure that out, I start with what is it about this woman that bothers me? And as I begin to unravel that in my brain, I come to realize, and this is a process. Oh, it's the cheerleading thing. Well, why is it the cheerleading thing? Well, then that takes me back to my childhood. Like, I don't like cheerleaders. And see, you can see where the 5 whys really sort of play into this. If I do that exercise on myself, I don't like cheerleaders. Well, why don't I like cheerleaders? Well, because they're stuck up snobs. Well, why do you think they're stuck up snobs? Oh, because I had that really bad experience when I was a kid, and that belief is stuck in my brain. Now, what that allows me to do is it allows me to begin to separate out the present from the past. I can go, "Oh, okay, there's nothing wrong with cheerleading. This woman hasn't done anything wrong. She's a wonderful woman." And I can now change my perspective about who she is and continue on working with her. I can also begin to go back and reframe what happened to me in the past. Did I really know those girls? No. Did I have any idea what was going on in their home lives? No. Okay, they weren't very nice to me in that moment. Does that mean that they were, mean to everybody all the time? No. So I can begin to put context to what happened to that event as a child.
Wow. I just love how you just showed right there at the beginning, like how many times that actually happens. Like you don't realize why you don't want to or like something or somebody. And it goes deeper than that without even giving somebody a chance or giving like maybe an event a chance because of that fixed mindset you have.
Yeah. Our thinking can get so distorted in lots of different ways, right? And I walk clients through like a ton of different ways that our thinking can get distorted, but that's about our present day situations. So we make assumptions, we read people's minds, we predict outcomes, without really knowing if that's what's going to happen. We get really rigid, so really black and white, all or nothing thinking. We reason with our emotions. We catastrophize. There's so many ways that our thinking gets distorted, and behind every distorted thought is a false or limiting belief.
Wow. So right there, you can kind of see where people start sabotaging themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, all the time.
Like,
All the
like
time.
I'm watching how you went through that progression, and like if you're not even in that, like going through them 5 whys or going through a different set of progressions on why something is the way it is, you're going to get to a certain point. You're going to sabotage a chance that you could have to grow, or to make more money, or to get a better relationship.
Yeah. The reality is that most people love to complain. They don't like their situations. But you know this, Ryan, as a coach. There's not a lot of people who really want to do something about their circumstances. You're nodding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've I've worked with some really good people, but I've worked with some that, I mean, those are the ones that really stick with me the most, are the ones that don't want to put the work in, because like some of them are parents paying me money to help their kids. So if you're going to pay me money, I want the kids to succeed. That's just me. I want everybody I work with to succeed, because in the end, then I'll succeed later. So I go above and beyond anything ever asked. So the ones that don't want to put the work in, those are the ones that hurt the most.
Oh yeah, for sure. I and people do a lot of head nodding to stuff like this, right? Like I think people get it in some ways up here, but it requires a lot of heart work. It requires head work, but it also requires heart work, because changing your mindset requires daily intention. And that begins to tie into our habits. Our habits really, I mean, that's a whole nother episode right there,
Yeah.
but our habits set us up for success or failure. So, and we get really, I don't think practice makes perfect. I think practice makes permanent. And this is where thinking really ties into this, because if you're thinking, what the thinking you're practicing on a daily basis is, I can't, I should, I have to, I ought to, it'll never work, this sucks, this is hard, this is scary, your brain is going to go, okay, well, wow, that sounds like a lot of work, and we don't want to work any harder than we have to. So,
Yeah.
how about we just stay right here on the couch?
Yeah. Like most people don't understand that, like your brain will run away from pain. So if there's any chance of you failing or it being painful, or you have to suffer in any way, it's going to steer you away from that thing. So, and it's going to look for pleasure. So
Every time.
every time
Yeah.
it's going to keep going
Yeah.
to pleasurable things. So the way you talk to yourself and talk to your brain, and and talked about every perspective, like on I get instead I ought to do this, I get to do this. Just changing the way you
Yeah.
word something is so powerful.
It is. And, I actually have a tool that I give people when we talk about this. I didn't come up with this, and I don't remember off the top of my head who did, but it's called the ladder of powerful speaking. And that's about how you speak to yourself. And so at the bottom of the rung, there's like 6 levels. At the bottom of the rung is those words of obligation. I should, I have to, I can't. Oh, this is really hard. If you just move up one rung and you change your thinking to, well, I could, I might, maybe I will. Now you've moved from this, I have to do this, but I don't really want to like, I'm considering this. This is an option. I have a choice now. And even just that one shift can be really powerful. From there, you go up one more rung, and now you start saying, okay, I want to do this. I'm, this is some this is something I'm looking forward to. I'm kind of excited about this. You go up another rung, now you're finding the passion behind it, right? Um, it's I really this is going to happen. I really want to do this. And at that top of the ladder, this is where you are going. This will happen.
Yeah.
This is being done today or this week or whenever. There's no language in the brain that allows for any escape hatch.
Yeah. Like, I loved how you touched on the going up that ladder. I see it all the time with a lot of my clients. I mean, once they start getting that momentum going,
Yeah.
they start becoming unstoppable, and they're like, "Oh man, this is really working on my
Yeah.
mind and the way I talk to myself and the way I approach things. This stuff works." I'm like, "Well, yeah." I said, "I've been through it." I said, "It's just hard when you
Yeah.
get started because you're facing everything that you've never
Yeah.
faced before, and it's a change in the way you look at everything and look at life."
Yeah, and I think we're both coaches, so we both know that you don't get people to that top rung overnight. It starts
No.
with baby steps of like, what would it be like to move from that place of I have to, whatever it is, I have to go to the gym and work out to I could go to the gym. What shifts internally inside of you? The How do those words feel inside your body? Because your body's responding. Words are powerful. So, when I say, "Oh, Debbie, you have to go to the gym," I feel tense. I feel a little bunched up. When I say I could go, I feel a little freer, like, "Oh, you mean I could, but I could not? I have a choice. I could do
Yeah.
it's up to me?" It's like, there's a little bit of a release to that.
Yeah. I mean, when you give yourself a choice and an out, I mean, most times you're going to take the path that's a little bit harder, especially if you truly want to get better at
Yeah.
anything.
I think the key for me, at least working with clients, is to challenge them just enough to the point of believability, right? To, not to give them a goal that seems so completely out of reach. So whether it's helping them believe that their marriage is repairable or not, the goal needs to be like, what is one shift starting up here with your mind? What is one shift that gets you closer to believability? Not the belief that we're going to turn this marriage around and it's going to be fantastic and amazing and you're going to look at your spouse and go, "Oh wow, the person of my dreams." Maybe down the road, that's the ideal. But just baby steps. What's that one mindset shift that begins to give you a little bit of hope that, hey, you know what? I can do something here.
Yeah. See, we're a little bit different on that aspect, but I don't work with relationships. So, like, like, like I tell everybody, when I work with the kids and the athletes, especially, we set our goals way up here. And where some people are like, "Man, those are pretty big." It's like I want them to reach that high, though. I want them to start believing it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I want, and I certainly live my life this way. Whoever coined the phrase, shoot for the stars, and if you only make it to the moon,
Yeah.
yeah, made it to the moon. I want people to believe that, but I really believe you have to work with what you have.
Yeah.
Um, and and this is where mindset really is key in helping me identify what that person needs from me right now. If their mindset is super, super stuck, I'm not gonna budge that and go, "Oh, this marriage is totally, we can totally turn it around." I have to start with what they can believe.
Yeah. Well, I
So
understand that too because you have not just one person, but another person to play too, so that you might not even be working with. So how can you change
right,
somebody, change somebody
right.
else that you're not even talking to? You know. So
And that's why, and that happens a lot where I'm working with one half of a couple, right?
yeah,
So that's where mindset becomes so critical, because I've got to be able to shift that person's mindset from blame to personal ownership, personal
yeah,
accountability, like stop pointing fingers at your spouse. I've got to shift them from a mindset of resentment to a mindset of curiosity, like what could change in my marriage if I change me? What will my husband or my wife do differently if I show up in a different way? I have to shift their mindset from a state of hopelessness to, you know what? I'm in charge of my own happiness. I have free moral agency. So I get to show up every day and decide what I want that day to look like. Therefore, there's all kinds of hope for me, even if my spouse isn't where, I would ideally like them to be. And to go from this mindset of fear and anxiety and urgency, like things have to change right now, to like a mindset of intentionality. Uh, you know, every day I get to choose how I think, how I feel, and how I respond to every single situation. That's on me.
yeah. A lot of it is. I don't think people understand that with dealing with mindset, it just changes the way you respond to things that happen because you're
Yep.
never in control of the outside world, and that's where a lot of the problems stem from. We won't think we are in control of how our day should go, but when we realize, hey, we're not in control, all we can do is react accordingly, have a good attitude, and give 100% effort. I mean, things seem to change.
Yeah, and so it's not necessarily overnight change, and I think that's where we lose some people too, right?
Yeah,
Like it's taken years and years for the problems to develop, but okay, I'm ready to fix them. So why aren't they fixed, in the next 24 to 48 hours or, 2 weeks
takes
or a month? Like
months,
it,
months, years to change.
yeah.
Like I even tell most of the parents, like when I'm in a discovery call with a lot of them, I was like, you're going to notice some gradual changes, probably beginning the first couple weeks and everything, but don't expect any big changes till about that 6 month mark with me. That 6 month mark, weekly calls and everything, you'll start noticing changes in their ability and the way they start processing things. Their emotions will be a little bit more in check too.
Yeah, I think that's
You-
really key, to set realistic expectations, right, with people that we work with. That, this isn't an overnight process. You didn't
No,
get here overnight.
no,
I don't think it's going to change overnight.
right? So, like, one area that I usually start out with, and I don't know, like with you, but I start working with on confidence with people. Like, could you elaborate how much maybe your clients lack confidence?
For me, every client is different, but we can be confident in one area of our life and completely lacking confidence in another, right? So I might work with a really strong, competent, capable woman in her professional life who's a complete mess when it comes to relationships with men. So that becomes an issue. That's where confidence becomes an issue. And so what we'll do is we'll parallel those two things. Like, what is it about you at work that allows you to believe in your abilities, to give you that confidence, that isn't playing over in your personal life, right? Or vice versa. Maybe it goes in reverse. So with every client that I have, I I work with them in the very beginning to identify what they want to work on. And not all of them say confidence, but as we start to really dive into stuff, I might point that out, or it might come out as we start to really identify some of these false or limiting beliefs. Like, I notice that you seem to really doubt your ability in this specific area. What do you think's going on? So it comes out eventually.
Yeah. Like, I know the reason why I do it, like, because the reason why I like starting out with confidence, I like to start getting rid of their negative thought patterns, those limiting beliefs that are just bombarding their head,
Yeah.
like all the thoughts that just like bombard their head. Well, I get them to start talking to themselves better and like showing them at times they've been successful, because we'll make a list of like their skills, things they're good at, and times they've been successful at times. And then you start getting them to pair that up with an anchor and everything, and they are like, hey, we're doing this slow just so I can build up the way you talk to yourself, get rid of some of them limiting beliefs that are just constantly bombarding your head.
Yeah. That inner critic you were talking about in the brain. Sometimes I have clients give the inner critic a name because I don't like us to go, "Oh, that's me," because then it's always with us. But if we can give that inner critic a separate identity and an identity that we can stand up to. It can be somebody from our past or our present, but it can't be somebody that we're intimidated by, or afraid to stand up to. But when we name that inner critic and give it a different identity, then we can tell it to shut up. But if we say, "Oh, I'm so hard on myself and I beat myself up," and well, wherever you go, then there you are. That inner critic is that's you, and you're with you wherever you go. So sometimes we do that as a little fun exercise. Like, who is that voice? We'll name it, we'll give it a name, we'll give it a gender, and then we'll say things like, okay, how do we create, I always say to people, my inner critic, I've named her Maxine from the comic strip. I don't know if you're familiar with Maxine, but she's this
No.
old crotchety lady. She always has a cigarette dangling out of her mouth, and she's super negative. So so when I talk with clients about this, you know, I'll say things like, okay, how do we create a Maxine free zone, to where Maxine isn't in my head. She's not berating me. She's not getting in my way. What do I need to do to create a Maxine free zone in this moment or in this situation or in this relationship? And that can be a fun activity that people can really jump on and go, "Oh yeah, okay, my inner critic. I'm naming my inner critic," and we'll even talk, like, visualize, okay, what's gonna work best in silencing it, like, pull out some, mental duct tape and slap it on their mouth, right? Or whatever you gotta do. But uh, that visualization tool, I think, can be really useful for some people to just
Yeah.
silence that voice.
I like you call it like you give it names and everything. I just call it the white noise around because that's all it is. It's
That's
just
yeah.
noise, it's
You've
just
done the same
noise.
thing there. You've pulled it out and given its own identity separate from, the kid you're coaching, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the white noise, and the white noise is the enemy,
Yeah.
not you.
I said that was my hardest step when I was working on my own mindset too, was identifying what I called the white noise and like, hey, what everybody's saying does not matter. It's what say up here to myself and how I talk to myself, whatever like my environment and all the other people are saying about me means nothing. It's just like I have to focus on me and to my happiness and just keep moving forward.
Yeah. One of the things that really helps shift mindset is falling in love with the process and not so much the outcome, right? And you're nodding.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll use myself as an example. Like, when you're growing a coaching business and you're doing, and there's a lot of social media posting and you're on all these platforms, the outcome is who liked your post. How many people are following you? How many people are reaching out to you, to work with you? Those are outcomes. And when your success is driven by those things, it can be really discouraging, which affects your mindset. And so a lot of people fall off to the wayside because it's not happening fast enough for them, or they're not getting the outcome that they really wanted. But when you fall in love with the process, you go, I love what I'm learning. I love the new skills that I'm gaining. I love, for me, I love just creating the content. Doesn't matter right now if anybody's out there listening to it. I'm just having fun becoming a person who knows how to do that, knows how to edit that video, knows how to, go do this over here, or go, or podcast now, or write a blog. And it's shaping me as a person into somebody that I like, whether or not I get all the likes or the follows or the subscribes or that stuff will become a byproduct if I just show up every day and do my steps. In other words, fall in love with the process.
Yep. That's one of my biggest things was, hey, you got to love the process. I mean, because it's not
Yeah.
easy. And that's one of the reasons why I
Well,
start with confidence anyways, because I know how hard the process is. Like,
yeah.
especially the process I kind of take kids through. And even like adults through. Like, we're very going into the straight into the fire, as we would say. We're running straight through the fire. So it gets scary at times. And there's not a lot of success that comes with it, as you know, when you just dive right in.
Yeah.
That
Somebody
people,
Yeah, I learned not too long ago about like the hockey stick sort of. I can't remember where I got it, but you're probably familiar with that hockey stick sort of
yeah,
curved line of like, you know, it for a while it seems like a very flat line of progress, and a lot of people can't tolerate that. But then when it takes off, it's like the handle on the hockey stick. Shoo, you just shoot right up, and all of a sudden, the outcomes are there too. There's a lot of patience that is required in shifting your mindset day in, day out, challenging your own thinking, going, why am I telling myself that? Is that really accurate? What am I basing that on? Where's the evidence to support that? That you're a loser, that you're fat, that you can't do this, whatever you're telling yourself. What are you basing that on? Okay, what can I tell myself instead? Because that's not accurate.
right. Like I think too that most people with the belief system that they were brought up with, is why they have like a lot of those limiting beliefs and why they talk to themselves like that.
Yeah.
Because we know if you would talk to like someone in a relationship like that, they want to stay around with you, right?
Well, and I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, at the end of the day, the only people who are going to make a change are the people who recognize that they need to make a change. There are a lot of people out there, which takes us back to that victim mindset. There are a lot of people out there who are just waiting for everybody around them to change.
They're
So
gonna be waiting a long time
they're going to
because,
be waiting a long time. Yes.
like, I know, like, I've had people come up and talk to me about things before, no clients or anything, just friends, and they were complaining about stuff. It's like about their relationships. I'm like, man, the only person you can change is you. Go change, work on you, and then once you change, then maybe your spouse will change with you. But you can't expect them to change just because you want to change. Go change you first, and if they don't want to change with you, then you leave. I mean, simple as that. I mean, but work
And
on you.
it's the most amazing moment in a coach's life when you see someone actually do the work and go through the steps, and it's like they come in alive inside, like this giant light bulb has just lit them up from within, and they're it's and you see them making decisions out of that, and they're just so happy, they're so excited and filled with passion about their life, and of course, then they give you all the credit, like, "Oh, you're such a great coach." But I always put it back on them and say, "No, thank you, but you did the work.
Yeah.
You did the work, and those are exciting moments for me as a coach to see
That's the one thing I say too when people are like, "Look what you did, you helped." I'm like, dude, that was just a small part, just a guiding part of it. But they put the work in. If they're not there putting in the work, nothing would happen. So all the
yeah,
success goes to them. All you can look at me as a cheerleader from the sidelines, cheering them on, and maybe giving them some guidance here and there. Like I said,
yeah.
just give them a couple tools, but they're the ones
When
putting in the work.
I've worked with a lot of business coaches over the years in various ways, and you give them a compliment and they just say thank you, and then there's nothing else, right? And I think, okay, well, you need some more work as a coach, because the best coaches go, no, it's you, because you never want to leave your client thinking, I'm so dependent on my coach, I'll
Yeah,
never be able to live without my coach because my coach is so amazing and so wonderful. No, you want to be able to set that person free, knowing that the power to change and continue to change lies within them. And we've not talked a lot about God in the episode today, but first and foremost, God is the one who gives you the power to transform your mind, right?
yeah,
So I never ever want to leave anybody feeling like they are dependent or stuck on this relationship, this coaching relationship to to grow. I just say, "Hey, thank you for inviting me along on this journey."
yeah. Even now when I work with people, it's as I know we're getting closer to the end with me, and I'm preparing them. I'm like, hey, I'm maybe being a little bit harder on you now, throwing a little bit more at you, but I'm trying to prepare you for when you're not going to be with me anymore because I know all things are going to come to an end and you're going to be ready and you're not going to need these talks. If you want to call me to talk to me, you can call me and talk to me, I don't think you're going to need these calls because you've outgrown where you were at, You're right, going moving on to another step that's above where you're going to need me. So giving you the tools like of being self-aware and all that. I mean,
Well, and no
giving-
no coach has all the answers, right? No coach
no,
has all the tools and all the solutions. So being humble enough to know, hey, I've taken you this far. Now get out there on your own and go find other people who can take you the next step.
yeah. I mean, and that's how I look at all coaches as they should be, but there's so many that aren't. Like even from an athletic standpoint, too, the coaching business of like working with people more on like the business side and everything, because people are so I think want the money or credit for everything. It's like I would much rather get a kid, build the basis of everything up with them, build a good solid about base and foundation, and get them to a certain point and be like, here, move on. Go to somebody else who can get you to that next level because everything is a pyramid on skills and everything,
Mhm.
and nobody had all the answers, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, part of the mindset that I have to have is, I always say, stay in your lane, Debbie. Do what you're good at. Don't let that go to your head, and don't venture out here in the weeds trying to help people with things that aren't your level of expertise. And I think sometimes coaches that don't have a lot of experience, they do that. They start like coaching people on all kinds of different things because they've had a little bit of experience here, a little bit of experience there, and different things. And so now, because people are complimenting them and thanking them for their coaching ability, okay, well, now they can start to venture over here. No, we each have our niche. We each have our thing that we're really, really good at. Learn to do it the very best you can. That's part of a coach's mindset.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then that was one thing when I first started doing like working with mindset was like people were like I started branching off to work with athletes from other sports and people are like, man, you don't even know that sport. I'm like, well, I know I don't have to go teach them how to do it. And if they did, they wouldn't be very good at it coming from me. But guess what? I am
Mindset
good at
crosses all barriers,
yeah.
right?
I said
Yeah.
I'm very good at building confidence in people and getting them confident become more confident in getting and changing their daily habits. I said, so why don't I just stick to that stuff I know about, and then I can learn some of the other stuff, their knowledge and everything on that sport, but like, I'm not going to go try to train them in another sport, but I will give them like advice on how to train yourself and change like your daily habits. Hey, why don't you exercise some more, drink some more water, or go stretch, or things like that,
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the last things I want to talk to you about, and I hear a lot of coaches bring this up, motivation. Said, what's your feeling on if you have a great vision and you have this crystal clear clarity on what the vision you have, that you'll be motivated 100% of the time?
No. No, you won't. I love the book Atomic Habits because James Clear talks about that, right? Nobody stays 100% motivated all the time. You habits are built by daily sustainable things that you can do that ultimately get routine, and routine can feel mundane and boring, and he says you have to fall in love with boredom, and I think he's absolutely right. If you're always waiting to be motivated, sometimes you're not you're going to be waiting a long time. And the thing too is, what is it that's motivating you? If you're looking for a specific outcome, let's say I want to lose 10 pounds to fit into a certain outfit. And so, okay, great. I lose the 10 pounds. I fit into the outfit. Now what? What's my motivation to keep it off?
Yeah.
Right? So, or I wanted it to wear it for a specific event. The event has come and gone. Great. I lost the pounds. So now 6 months, a little bit creeps on, a year, a little bit more creeps on, 5 years, it's all back plus 5 pounds, right? So you have to really think about what am I actually trying to achieve? It would be far better for me to be motivated to be healthy and to start to define myself in a certain way. Like I always say, I don't say, Debbie, you need to go run. I say, Debbie, you're a runner. Because then my brain treats that very differently. Well, if I'm a runner, then I go run. I've defined myself that way. Or if I define myself as someone who drinks a lot of water, then I don't let myself off the hook. I'm now going to create an environment that sets me up to drink a lot of water or eat in a healthy way or treat people in a certain way. I do the same thing in creating, a certain culture in my marriage. I define myself as a woman who is, and then in my brain I list the qualities that I want to be. So my brain it changes the way that I show up in that way, because I don't say to myself, well, I want to have a really great marriage, so I want to talk to my husband in a certain way. I don't do that. Because there may be days when I'm tired or my husband's frustrated me, and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not motivated to be that today, and my excuse is he wasn't nice to me in this moment, so I'm justified. No, instead, I say, Debbie, you're a woman who does this no matter what. You're a woman who talks this way no matter what. You're a woman who treats your husband this way no matter what. So I don't tie my motivation to things that ebb and flow or are external. At
Yeah.
least I try not to. Am I
Yeah.
perfect in this? No.
Well, you're always going to have a little bit of the ego come into play. I mean, where
Sure.
you're
Yeah. Yeah.
chasing the outcome. I mean, but like I've been sitting here like on social media watching some of the coaches that I've met and listen to what they're peddling about motivation. I'm like you're not going to be motivated 100% of the time. Quit trying to lie to people and make them feel that motivation's like something. I'm like the one thing I found out with motivation is failure probably is it's your best motivation to make a change. And the time you need motivation the most is when you feel like quitting.
Yeah. And absolutely. And I mean, I think we've said a lot of this already by just saying fall in love with the process, because
Yeah.
you're looking for motivation and you don't feel it, and then that becomes your excuse to stop in that moment, or take a break from what you're trying to do. Habits are a tricky thing. You if I stop drinking water one day, okay, but if I stop drinking it a second day, I'm already retraining my brain to not drink water.
So I said they're hard. Once you break them, they're hard to get back on. I know
They're hard to
every
get
time I
back.
stop lifting and I get out of that pattern of going to the gym, like
Yes.
even if it's for a week or two, once I go back to try to get back into it, it hurts.
Yeah. And that's why I say to the gym is a good example of that. That's why I say to myself, Debbie, you're a runner, as opposed to, oh, you really need to get to the gym. You haven't been there for 2 weeks. Once I define myself in that way, there are no excuses. This is what
Yeah,
a runner does. A runner goes to the gym and runs.
yeah, I like that though. Like you just call yourself a runner. Like what do runners
Yeah.
do? You
Well, and
know,
I do
one
the
thing.
same thing in my business. I'm a writer. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm a content creator. I define myself that way. So what does a writer do? She writes. What does a content creator do? She creates content.
I said I know
As opposed to, yeah, but
when I was going through a lot of my stuff, like the one thing I used to tell myself was fighters fight, right? So what
okay,
you
there
gotta
you
do is
go.
stand up and
Yeah.
fight, right? Like this is the outcome you want, or this is the predicament you
Fighters
want to be in.
fight.
If you don't want it, fighters fight. You gotta fight out of it, you know?
Yeah. See that you did that. Even if you didn't know what you were doing in that moment, you
Yeah,
did it. You defined yourself as a fighter. And you were battling some big things, but because you defined yourself as a fighter, there was no loophole for you to quit.
yeah. Pretty much. I mean, that's like as you were saying that, it kind of clicked with me. Like, huh,
Yeah.
I like that. Well, Debbie, I think that's going to be all the time we have here today. I mean, is there anything you would like to leave the audience with about overcoming adversity?
Oh man, that's big. Uh, you know, I got to go back to James Clear in Atomic Habits. I love his 1% rule. Stop looking for big transformation, and just ask yourself what's the 1% shift that I can make today in my mindset, because where you shift your mind, your emotions and your actions will follow.
I love it. Well, Debbie, thank you again for coming on here today. I mean, you always bless us with some great knowledge.
Thanks, Brian. I love being on your show. We are pretty aligned in the way that we see things, and you're full of energy, and it's a fun place to be here with you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on. We'll have to get you on here again some other time and deep dive into some more stuff.
Sounds good. I'm happy to do it. Thanks a lot for
Awesome.
having me, Ryan.
Yep. Well, guys, that's going to be all the time we have here today. Remember, the only way to get what you want is go through the fire.